I was born in Tanzania, East Africa, to Jacinta and Kundale Mrema. Born in Tanzania, East Africa, moved to the States with my family, my older brother and myself. My dad moved in '92, about 8 to 9 months after I was born, and then he moved here to go to college. Went to a Bible college in Alabama. Did not know if he was going to be able to bring my mom, my older brother, and myself to the States. 2 years later, a church that was gracious enough and loving enough was like, "Hey, do you plan on bringing your family?" And he was like, "Yeah, when I can afford it." And I'm like, "We want to help you bring your family." So my mom, my older brother, and myself, we flew to the States 2 years later to be with my dad. We lived in the States. That was '94, from '94 to 2003. 2003. So during that time, my parents worked in the church. We went to a Pentecostal church in Alabama, and then that pastor moved to South Carolina. We were like, "Hey, we're gonna follow you." So I went to a Pentecostal church. We went to a Christian school growing up, and I just did I was doing the Christian thing, right? Like, I watched VeggieTales and I watched the Christian TV and listened to Christian music. And in 2003, my parents became missionaries with an organization. And so, first of all, like growing up, my parents always said, "Hey, we're gonna go back to Tanzania. We're gonna plant the church in Tanzania. That's where we're from. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back." And life in the U.S., I mean, it got kind of cozy. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to school. We lived in a nice 2-story house. The house we lived in, they had like horses in the front and the backyard. So they weren't our horses. They were the families that lived next to us. So we had a lake. We would fish. So it was super cozy, and we really enjoyed life here. And during that time, like, I just grew up, Christian. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, I got saved. I was learning to play the guitar. That's what Christian boys do. And then I was in Royal Rangers, which is like a Christian Boy Scouts, and I'm memorizing stuff and winning patches for my shoulders and my chest shirts and all those other things. And I was going to camps, but I was just going through the motions. Like, I don't think I was truly saved. We became missionaries, moved back to Tanzania, and we planted a church. And maybe around the time when we went back, I was 11. So obviously not a, when you're 11 and you're figuring it out, and then also you just leave your friends and family and you're living on the other side of the world in a country that you're originally from, but you don't speak the language, you don't know the culture, and everybody's coming up to you speaking Swahili and you don't understand it even though you look like them. It was a very confusing time for 11-year-old me. But during that, like, I kind of fell out. Like, I didn't enjoy the church. I didn't enjoy the ministry. My parents were very involved with the church. They worked overtime in the church, and I don't know. I started skipping church. I mean, I was not doing well. Like, I don't know, man. I just didn't enjoy it. I was addicted to pornography. It was not good. Like, I was not good. I didn't enjoy it. But the thing was, like, my parents were pastoring this church, and I just had to play the part. So I played guitar on stage, and I'd drum on stage, and I'd swear and hang out with my friends, and I never did drugs or drank. But I remember just thinking I was close to it, and I was close to friends who did all that stuff. But I just remember thinking, like, I don't know, man. I don't believe in this whole Jesus thing. I just kind of grew up in it, and it wasn't until I moved back to college, and I went to a Bible college, for crying out loud, and I still wasn't like in it really. And I preached, and I worked for youth ministry, and I preached, and I did all these things, but I just wasn't like that really. It was just all, I had a lot of head knowledge of it, right? Like, I just knew what to say, when to say it. I knew how to open up a service. I knew how to do the tithe talk on Sunday mornings. But, I don't think I truly really believed. I don't think I read my Bible consistently. I don't think I cared enough. But yeah, during, after I left ministry, after I was like let go, during that time I did a lot of like soul searching. I listened to great podcasts, I listened to great sermons, I watched great sermons, I read great books, and I think that's when I really truly got saved. That's when I really truly, I thought, wow, like, this is real. I'm not just following my parents' religion anymore. I really need to make a change, and I really need to believe this and learn this stuff for myself. And and that was like the beginning. That was the beginning, and until today, like, I'm figuring that out. And I would say that the friends, more than anything, that's helped me is Christian friends who were my age, and still are, like, were just of huge help to my spirit and to my learning. And I'm extremely thankful for, for people who kind of saw past the, hey, you're just doing the Christian thing, like, you're speaking Christianese or whatever, churchanese, and you know everything to say, like, how are you? And you're like, I'm good. And they're like, no, really, how are you? And you're like, okay, no, I'm good. And they're like, no, like, really, how are you? And then when somebody asks you that, then you're like, maybe I'm not good. Maybe I just know how to say I'm good all the time, and it keeps people at bay. So yeah, that's a longer way to say that did the Christian thing growing up, and then I found it for myself, or I'll say God found me, and I kind of started in the right direction.
Yeah, it's awesome, because I think that it is a God thing, because you do see a lot of, PKs, pastor kids, or people that were raised in the church. It's like they either go radically this way, or there's that moment where God actually like comes into your life, and you're like, okay, this is going to be real. Like, this is going to be my faith.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to choose to make this decision instead of my parents constantly, like choosing it for me.
Right.
You brought up pornography, and I think that's something that I wasn't planning on talking about today, but it is definitely a big problem for men in our world, but even Christian men in our world. I mean, I even see like Facebook ads pop up for like, what is it, Covenant Eyes, or like those different things. So how have you been able to curb that addiction, or that like, sinful nature that we have in a lot of us, to go running after lust?
Covenant Eyes. I actually had a friend go, hey, what kind of apps, what stuff do you have on your phone to help you keep from not looking at stuff that you shouldn't be looking at? And I was like, well, nothing, just nothing. And he was like, hey, you should download this app. It's like, $13 or $14 a month, and add me as like, your accountability partner on that. That's been like life-changing, just in terms of that. But also, that conversation with my friend Zach, like, it wasn't a fun one, like, it's not a fun one for somebody to be like, hey, like, you do you have restraint put up? Do you have guards put up? And you're like, well, no, not really. It's just the whole, so, and, people have been critical about, apps like that, and, you need the Holy Ghost in your life, but, truly just things like that. And people really just being intentionally kind of in your face about, about your walk with the Lord, and I don't know, everything that you do and see and watch when nobody else is watching.
Yeah. I hear sometimes people even say like, oh, but God's grace is bigger than my mistakes and my sin, and oh, this isn't that bad. But like for me, like, I see it as something very toxic if you're ever going to want to be in a relationship with a woman. Like I can't even imagine, being with Ashley, but then also like doing this stuff on the side, whether it be, looking at stuff on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. Like, there's so many avenues now. Like, do you think that, like, what would you say to somebody, like a friend that was like, oh no, like, this isn't that big of a deal. Like, it's fine.
Man. I was listening to a great message from Pastor Matt Chandler today. And he was just talking about how like little sins kind of come up. They start off as like cute little puppies, and when you get a cute puppy, and then before you know it, it's like, messing up your floors, chewing up your comforters. And yeah, man, like there are little things that start off that you're like, wow, whatever. I don't really know. I don't really care. And then before you know it, it's really, really like ruined your life. And there have been certain, like, even just other things just in general where I've had to tell people, I don't know. I'll say like, I'll just say, I'll say this, like cryptocurrency, people say do whatever you want. But I remember having like a long conversation with a friend recently where I was like, I did. And I made a little bit of money, or no, and then I lost, some money. And I'm not trying to say whether that's good or bad, but I remember just personally for myself, I was telling a friend, I'm like, I didn't like what it did to me internally. Like, I didn't like what it did to my mind. And they're like, yeah, that's like, it's greed. And I remember thinking, I don't like that feeling, I don't like that feeling. And so for myself, I just knew what is wise for me to do. I just said, maybe that's not for me. It's for some people that I know, and people are doing great in it. But just for myself, and I think for porn too, that's one of those things that, maybe it's not like crypto or whatever, but like maybe it is not good for you, right? It is not good for you. It never will be. And what sounds like very innocent and whatever now, it's potentially, it's going to really, really mess you up. But a lot of times people don't know that until it does. And you don't want to find out the hard way. You don't want to find out the hard way.
Hey y'all, we hope you loved this conversation. Here at Young Married Christian, we are on a mission to see a gospel-centered home made available for every single child in the foster care system. There are 400,000 kids in the foster care system, and there are 400,000 churches in America. Wow. That is crazy. This is absolutely a solvable problem, and we want to be a part of it. If you want to join us in that mission, text the word freedom to 833-370-1610.
833-370-1610. 833-370-1610.
I just did it.
And another thing you can do that is really helpful is to smash the like button on this video.
Smash it like Satan's face. Crush it like it's Lucifer's head.
It really helps us a ton, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel.
That's it.
Smash the like button on this video.